I now invite Mr. Michael Kantor to deliver the occasional address. Michael is the Artistic Director of Melbourne's Malthouse Theatre, a position he has held since 2004. Prior to this appointment, Michael was an acclaimed director working for a range of major Australian theatre and opera companies. He is also a respected actor and writer. Michael studied at the University of Melbourne and at l'École Philippe Gaulier in Paris. Mr. Michael Kantor.
Acting Chancellor, Acting Vice-Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to begin by also recognising the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung tribes of the Kulin Nation, and to thank you for allowing me the great honour of speaking directly to you, the graduating students, on this most momentous occasion as you begin a new phase of your life. My name is Michael Kantor and I'm a theatre director and currently run a theatre company called Malthouse Theatre, which has a deep association with Victoria University. Our relationship is one of reciprocal learning. It is constantly evolving as we discover new synergies and opportunities for collaboration. The spirit of this rapport forms the basis of what I would like to elaborate on with you today. When I think about my own learning experiences and the significant moments that have shaped my life and career, I'm aware that it has often been the incidental choices and interactions that have yielded the greater opportunities and have had the most effect in determining the course I have navigated. While attending a not too enlightened and rather conservative all-boys high school, I generally resisted learning as much as I could. We spent our time more interested in persecuting our poor teachers, particularly the female ones. One teacher we would regularly reduce to tears was our English teacher, a much too gentle woman for our loutish, boyish behaviour. And yet it was in the quiet conversations that I had with her when my mates weren't around or watching, and the school plays she got us to perform, Shakespeare's blood-curdling Macbeth in Year 9, Bertolt Brecht's startlingly prescient Caucasian chalk circle in Year 10, me playing probably the worst Hamlet ever allowed on stage in Year 11, and even plunging into the depths of the absurdist existentialism in Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot by Year 12, that I discovered my abiding fascination with the theatre and its access to the communal imagination. On leaving school, she offered me 2 pieces of advice that had little to do with formal learning, but ultimately determined my future career. She told me to go to a small theatre company that was operating down in South Melbourne in an old temperance hall called Anthill and offer to sweep the floors. Her other advice was to enrol at Melbourne University, not for any particular academic riches that I may have gained by attending such a university, but to search down the student-run theatre department and see if a young student director she'd heard of named Barry Kosky was auditioning for any plays. I took her advice on both accounts, and it was through doing plays with Barry Kosky, now one of the most renowned theatre and opera directors in the world, and sweeping the floor for the extraordinary actors and director Jean-Pierre Mignon at Anthill Theatre in South Melbourne, that I found the colleagues, actors, writers, designers, whom I continue to work with to this day. In other words, what I learnt and the experiences I had around the act of learning have ultimately bared fruit. Borne fruit, it's probably better grammar. The French novelist and playwright André Gide once wrote, "In order to discover new lands, one must consent to lose sight of the shore." I'll say that again because I really like it. In order to discover new lands, one must consent to lose sight of the shore. And this is most true at the moment we leave university. We need to have the courage to lose ourselves, to follow dreams and pathways that may be risky, and throw caution to the wind if we're ever to reach our potential. There have been times when I have clung to the shore and not found the courage to allow myself to set sail and be open to opportunity and experience. At the age of 22, with what I considered a rather motley arts degree and lots of poorly attended student theatre productions under my belt, I went to my father, a lawyer of 35 years standing, for some career advice. "Dad," I said, "it's not too late. I could go back and study law, engineering or architecture. I could still aim to get a proper job." His advice left me confused and bewildered at the time, but was really quite simple. "Son," he said, "you've always enjoyed playing the violin. Why not learn to play it really well?" And I think what my father was saying was that I had to lose myself and be open to the experiences that life could throw me, not to think that a formal education alone would somehow complete me. So now I pass my father's advice to me on to you. Never consider your education to be completed or neatly resolved. You are dynamic beings and ought not fall into the trap of static thinking. Remember that learning is about relationship. One learns with and from and about others, irrespective of whether you are the teacher or student, psychologist or patient, mentor or mentoree, the performer or the audience. Being open to openness is paramount. My experience as a theatre director has clarified for me the various ways of thinking that need to be developed for the successful presentation of a production on stage. The first is the ability to think personally and to take the time to ruminate with one's own thoughts and to prepare for the moment in which those thoughts will be shared and how they should be shared with others. The second is interpersonal thinking, the moment in which you test your ideas against and with others. And the third is the transpersonal, the moment that the idea takes a life of its own and you become its participant. How do I see this approach as being relevant to you? It's my belief that it is the linchpin of successful collaboration. I'm convinced that any successful career, whether in the arts or science or commerce, is reliant on the ability to generate the idea, the ability to test the idea with others, and the ability to allow the idea to be larger than the sum of its parts. I urge you to maintain an inquisitive and suggestive attitude to the way you approach further learning, problems and opportunities, rather than an approach that is dictated by the need to be conclusive and exclusive and exhaustive. Open over closed, dangerously lost over safely moored. Recently, I was at a talk given by a young woman at the Koori Heritage Trust. She was giving an address to members, and I was quite taken by an observation she recounted that had been passed on to her by one of her elders. He had told her, "In order to know where you are going, you must know where you have come from." The pertinence for her, of course, was overwhelming, but I think it's relevant to us all. You must know your past and acknowledge all the elements, incidental stories, interactions, experiences, positive or negative, that have converged to make you the graduates you are today. I urge you now to haul the anchor, hoist the sail, and give yourselves permission to lose sight of the shore. Thank you and good luck.
Well, you may have been the worst Hamlet that ever hit the stage, but they were fabulous messages, thank you, Michael, to pass on.